1.5 minutes, miss, Lily said, referring to the watch she held, as the rat, that ought to have been dead, picked itself up and began nibbling at a bread crust. We had administered the experimental antidote made from the scales of the Varanus salvator, more commonly known as Francis, on a dragon-poisoned rodent. Eureka! I breathed, clutching Francis closer to me. I had made sure she was in the room for this epochal event. It was mid-September in the laboratory at Wormwood Abbey, located in the old muniments room at the top of the octagonal tower. It had been odd at first to see beakers and burners mixed up with dragon bones and bundles of herbs, but now it seemed like a symbol of how quickly Ormdale was changing. We have to repeat it, cautioned Januszek. I know, but do you have any idea how it works? I asked Januszek. He pointed to the old mortar and pestle he had used to make the mixture. Rusalka, I am here crushing dragon scales in a medieval tower to save your lover, who is being held hostage by Arthur Pendragon. Please, let us not fool ourselves with scientific terminology. Such words do not fit our situation. Magic, then? I whispered with a smile. Once, as a child, I had broken off a twig of a tree and carried it home with me in my pocket. When Mother found it, she dipped it in honey and pushed it into a pot of earth. I watered it whenever she told me to, and the following spring it put forth shoots of green life. Since becoming a dragon keeper less than a year ago, my entire perception of the world around me had changed. It wasn't that the magic hadn't been there before, it was that I had not seen it. It works on animals, said Lily, with her good sense. But will it work on people? Januszek cleared his throat and started to speak. No, I cut him off. I knew what he was about to offer. We're not going to poison you, Januszek. I've been experimented on myself, and I've watched Farley experiment on Hannah, and I won't have it. It's bad enough doing it to these poor rodents, though I suppose it can't be any worse than being eaten by Francis, which seems to be their natural fate. I turned to gaze out the window, which we had opened to let in some air. If we are going to be in the business of magic here at Wormwood Abbey, it will be utterly light. Something in the landscape below us caught my eye. It looked to be a shepherd coming down from the fells, slowly approaching the abbey. His gait was dogged and awkward, and he leaned heavily on his crook. I had not noticed that any of our shepherds walked with a limp. I leaned and peered out. What was that ungainly protuberance just below his knee? Could it be— Lily, I said, suddenly filled with hope. Send Thomas to Empsey with a telegram to Ogwen Cottage. Tell him we have what Pendragon wants. Januszek, follow me with the antidote. I snatched up my dragon keeper's belt, which clanked with useful items, and ran out the door and along the roof walkway in the autumn mellow air, careful of the crumbling masonry. I ducked through the low doorway into the abbey. On my way through the dim passages, I almost collided with Gwendolen. You saw him? I asked, fastening the buckle at my waist. Yes, she answered. I yanked open a door, and we were outside. We ran round the corner, and there he was, waiting. He was approaching old age, wore the traditional smock of a shepherd, and had a mud-brown dragon, the size of a badger, attached to his leg. I stopped short. I'd seen this kind for the first time during the sheep clipping. The sheep shearers called them groundlings. A set had been discovered that extended under the wall sheds. We had spent many good days relocating them, as the last thing we needed was to send off a bale of wool to auction with a clutch of baby dragons inside. How far did you walk? I asked the man, crouching down on the gravel walk to get a better look. The beast was latched onto him like a limpet. From Cleesby's pens, he answered. Gwendolen gave an exclamation. Why, in heaven's name? You could have gone to Drake Hall sooner than here. He gestured at me with his chin. I wanted